which was against the grain back then, because it's like we go out and we search for these records and we find these gems and jewels.
Yeah.
And then you come along and you tell everybody where I got this jewel from. But not only that, but people come and they remake the beat or try to, you know what I'm saying, that you already made.
Or you exposing these people and opening up for a potential lawsuit because they didn't pay for the sample.
Because they went under
Mind your business.
It went under the radar. You're
Mind
right.
your business.
That also. That's
part
the
of the
major
reason
thing.
why they didn't tell us, because they didn't pay for it. Mind your business.
Yes.
Is you gonna pay for it now that Steely Dan or whoever done figured out, oh, this song did 6 weeks on the Billboard.
Yep.
It's 10, 15 years later.
Yep.
We want our money. Why don't y'all mind your business?
So now we're in the business of not sampling and the producer getting all the money, and the beats not really kind of sounding like
hip hop.
I'm not gonna say not like hip hop.
I didn't.
I think
say
it was just
didn't.
like whack beats.
Right. I'm not saying that they didn't. I'm saying that this was a sentiment
That people were saying.
Yeah, that was my point. That was my whole point.
But I mean,
I'm saying it was people who were saying that they was like, nah, this is not what hip hop sounds like, because of the fact that the drums didn't knock, the fact that it sounded sing-songy or whatever. And I'm not saying that it wasn't hip hop. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying there was a lot of people who were against the non-sampling, right? Because of how basic it sounded, I guess.
So, yeah, I mean, but you have hits off of these beats.
Well, at some point in time, right, people stopped saying that, right? Because the hits kept coming, right? And those artists who you thought would stay within the boom bap sound started to evolve and adapt, because that's where the music was going, because people had problems with paying for samples. It doesn't change the fact that when it started, that people were like, what the hell is this? This isn't what hip hop sounds like. Yes, people evolved out of that thought process. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, I understand what you're saying.
It's not really important. I just remember that people were saying that.
Like that it's not hip hop.
Yeah, people had a problem with the sound because it didn't sound like hip hop. Then it became a thing where everybody's beats started to sound like that.
There's a whole lot of elements to that also. You also get into the element of more people wanting to make beats and having access to buy these instruments is why everybody started sounding as the same, and at the same time straying away from not sampling, because the word is you're going to have to pay for that. You know what I'm saying? And then the process that you have to go through of doing that. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't just being real easy like how it is on the internet. I get what you're saying about it. People saying that it's not sounding like hip hop. But to me, hip hop has always had so many different sounds. It just wasn't jumping into this era of time of this one particular thing. Like how we're talking about, like around all of that same time of Swiss Beats, Pharrell. I just believe that the changing of the sound and the evolution of hip hop is just, that's where it is. That's where it was right then and there. Because even so, when that little bit of time where we had big artists doing those, they had hits. I mean, like Jay-Z got songs that's over beats, you know, that's not sampled. But then Kanye enters with samples. Then Just Blaze enters.
The evolution of the way things were just like any other part of the evolution of hip hop, it evolved, and we had some pitfalls, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you figure out the pitfalls,
some experimentation,
and then you get to a point where like, oh, this is what it's supposed to be, right? And then you evolve in another way, like kind of like how we evolved into quote unquote mumble rap, and then that was a thing, and people were like, oh no, this isn't rap, da 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 da. But then you have some rappers who kind of fall under the whole mumble rap umbrella, but they make great music, right? So then can you really say that mumble rap is a problem? You know what I mean? So it's like you have these pockets of evolution where, oh, we've evolved here. I don't really necessarily know if this is where we should be going. And then we hit a plateau and everybody kind of finds the acceptable ground. And be like, okay, this is not as bad as I thought it was. And I think that's what happened once we got away from sampling and we had people making their own beats, not necessarily know how to play instruments, but figuring out these new software systems and figuring out, all right, I can't sample, but I want to make a beat. And so I'm going to do this. So then we went from some people being like, right, Casio, whatever, and then you see other people who use Fruity Loops, other people who use Pro Tools, or I should say Pro Tools, and being like, oh man, this is a elevated version of someone who's a producer and they're not sampling. Like I think we just kind of evolved through the time.
Oh, definitely. Well, I mean, definitely with technology being, it's like if hip hop is not doing anything, then there's no machines going to be made for. There's no the beat machine is not going to evolve.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's basically what's happening. Like hip hop is the thing, and the machinery and the instruments that's providing the sound for it is evolving. Not only that, like just to touch on something, Dilla, he experimented so much with the MPC that the MPC made changes to where they made those effects and stuff like that Dilla did himself. They made it accessible and easier for you to obtain because he went and he turned this knob this way and this knob this way and this knob and did and was like, yo, I got this after I did that. So where they made it to where it's like you turn it on and now you just press a button and now it gives you that kind of sound through that. That is like the evolution of what hip hop, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, look at
just like the whole sampling part of it. Us going from spinning the record and playing that back, and I got tapes of my homeboy, and this goes back to when I'm like 11, 12, and I got tapes from my next door neighbor of him, and this is before, honest to God on everything, way before, years before Black Moon used Buck 'Em Down remix. The Wind Parade is Donald Byrd. My homeboy was in the basement doing it with the record. So when I heard Black Moon do that over and loop it and sample, it was just so crazy that I watched 5 or 7 years, 6. But before that, my neighbor actually doing the original, just spinning the record back and catching it. And another thing, if you get into the time and era of certain kind of keyboards, like the Triton, and the Motif is what producers was using. You hear a lot of the same sounds, like you were saying earlier. But I just think that the sound in hip hop just kind of got, like, it's for the exception. Some people knew how to do it, and some people didn't. The sound just got weak. To me, you know what I'm saying? And it was the changing of a sound that some got used to, and some kind of mastered, and because I believe that that's what Pharrell and Timbaland are really good at. They both still sample, like some music is sampled, but I think they were ones that were good at putting more into their music to making it sound more grand than a lot of other people were. You know what I'm saying? To give it more of that feeling. I was not feeling. Timberland was okay when he first came out. I was like, yo, this is different. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't on board with the Neptunes when the Neptunes first came out. I wasn't on board with Swiss Beats. I admit it all the time. I wasn't not on board with some of those 4-bar beats. And I say 4 bars, it's the 8 bars is where it plays, and then he go dun 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 dun. Like at that time, I just was like, he had so many beats that like kind of did that thing that I just was like, I don't know. It just seems like it was a time where just like you feel like as an MC where all of a sudden everybody can rap. To me, there was a time where a lot of people felt it was like a producer time.
Right.
Where everybody thought they can produce.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And some have stood the test of time and some haven't. Yeah. Especially a lot of those people that had went that keyboard route.
Yeah.
I know how to play my own beats. And it's like you got to have some kind of musical ear for it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And that's where it comes down to, some people can read music or whatever, but you still have to have some kind of tone, some kind of sonic knowledge or something in you to make beats that, you're making this music yourself. And I mean, there's a lot of records that to me, and that were from known artists that were good, and then they started getting these new age beats. I called them back then, and not only that, it's an era. Believe me, except for them big ones, it's an era where you're not checking for some of them albums.
Oh, absolutely. You
know what I'm saying? Like let's keep it real. We're not checking for Raekwon's second album, Immobilarity. And it's not because he just got away from RZA, but because a lot of those beats were like those keyboard beats.
And they just didn't fit him.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I remember Fredro Starr had a joint out. I was like, this is not what I was expecting. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Was it the Firestar album?
Something like that. Yeah. And then you had other people that never strayed away from the sampling and that kind of, and they even got flack because it seemed like they weren't trying to evolve or commit with the times. You know what I'm saying? Which brings me back to Master Ace, because during that time, he's a person that we talk about that never,
he
never went against the grain.
He knew his sound.
But yeah,
he didn't try. If it works for you because it organically works, and I hate the word organically because I think it's overused, but if it's like a natural occurrence, yeah. But if you're like chasing the sound because that's the sound that you feel like, oh, this is gonna get me, most of the time it just doesn't work.
Yeah, true indeed.
How y'all feel about sampling?
I feel about sampling is supreme.
Sampling is the GOAT for me.
It is.
It's the beginning. I'm not suggesting that everything else is whack.
No.
But, it's the alpha. It's the alpha.
It is the alpha for hip-hop music. You know what I'm saying? And being able to sample anything, any genre of music, and to manipulate it. And that's a whole other thing with producers also, where it's a thing to be able to sample the music and to disguise it so you don't even know. Like opposed to like the ditties that take the loop that you may already know, the famous song that was already a single, and just loop that and make another song out of it. Opposed to people like a Pete Rock or Premier or even a RZA, to where you take a sample and you manipulate it to where it's like there's a lot of samples out there that they didn't have to pay for the sample because you don't even know that it's the sample.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's where the art of it and
there used to be, people would try to figure out. Instead of now, people are revealing.
Yeah.
Well, not necessarily the art, not necessarily the producers, but people are doing their due diligence, and now they're exposing yo, this is where he got.
Yeah, they've been doing that for a while now.
For a while. But before it was sacred. It was like, nah, I'm not telling you. I can't tell you that.
Was exactly.
Yeah.
Unless you read the credits, and then the credits still might not tell you the exact song it came from. It might just say courtesy of whatever records,
right? And even if it didn't name the song, you still had to figure out where in the song. Where in the song
and that's
how.
And that's what Premier was talking about on what album is that? That is the album. That's the album with Above the Clouds and My Steez. Put it in the comments. Y'all know what album I'm talking about. What Premier is talking about. He does a little break in between the songs, and he starts getting at people because people started putting out records with the break beats that they got their samples from, and then it was labeled.
Yeah.
This is like Gangstar's such and such,
right?
Which was against the grain back then, because it's like we go out and we search for these records and we find these gems and jewels.
Yeah.
And then you come along and you tell everybody where I got this jewel from. But not only that, but people come and they remake the beat or try to, you know what I'm saying, that you already made.
Or you exposing these people and opening up for a potential lawsuit because they didn't pay for the sample.
Because they went under
Mind your business.
It went under the radar. You're right.
Mind your business.
That also. That's
part
the
of the
major
reason
thing.
why they didn't tell us, because they didn't pay for it. Mind your business.
Yes.
Is you gonna pay for it now that Steely Dan or whoever done figured out, oh, this song did 6 weeks on the Billboard.
Yep.
It's 10, 15 years later.
Yep.
We want our money. Why don't y'all mind your business?
Yeah. Yeah.
If you figure it out for yourself, you should just be like, yo, I got it.
Yep. And it only take 2 seconds of something. It could take 2 seconds of a song.
There's a famous OK Player article. Questlove chronicles when he watched Dilla make the beat for the song Little Brother.
Mm-hmm.
And he was so floored, right? He was there, and Dilla's listening to this, whatever, the sample song was, and he's just trying to figure it out, or whatever. And Quest, like whoever was there, they all was just like, all right, whatever. Everybody leaves, and then like Dilla, I don't know, 3, 4 in the morning, it's like, I got it, right? And then when Quest heard the end result, like, and in the article, he's like, okay, this is the song, this is the part that he was stuck on, and this is what he was trying to do, like, he, you know what I'm saying? And then at the end, he's like, this is what we got, and then you realize, like, doesn't even sound anything like, what it was.
Yeah, and I've heard it, just going through, looking for samples myself. And when you run into somebody's stuff,
you do that all the time,
and it just be like, yo.
There's been times we've been in restaurants,
and I just can hear it in the background,
and you be like,
yep. And sometimes that be my first time.
It'd be
my first time hearing it. Like, yo,
many first moments where you like, yo, this is weird. Like, and to the point where you be like, nah, and then you gotta find the song. And when I'm trying to listen in a crowded restaurant, so. I don't know.
I think that's an art. I think it's a double entendre art in itself of sampling.
Sampling is an art, and if you are good at not sampling and creating a beat from scratch and making it, both sides are art to me.
Definitely.
I do think that one is the Picasso, you know what I mean?
Definitely.
And one is the protege of the Picasso.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And for me, the Picasso is sampling.
True indeed.
How y'all feel?
What y'all like better?
Who's your favorite producer that samples and your favorite producer that doesn't sample?
Or who's your favorite producer that does both?
That does. That's a bar.
I'm gonna tell you what mine is. It's the RZA.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Funny bone took a look.
The analog. He was analog and digital.
Spotty digital.
Do 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 do.